Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show I talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of the Blacklist. A great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, at the center of this, they are tracking down a guy named Benjamin Okara. It turns out Benjamin is a part of a team of people who made an energy weapon, essentially. This is a weapon that can basically make you feel like all these different symptoms at once until it basically kills you. This weapon can be sent, like it's energy, so it can be sent through a wall within a certain radius, and just an undetectable weapon that can kind of get you anywhere at any time type of thing. Obviously, if you can pinpoint the proximity and stuff. But Benjamin starts killing off the rest of the team who helped make him make the weapon. Because initially, the team's thought was like, oh, he's killing the people on his team so that there's less people to split the money with if he's the only one who can actually make the weapon. So it makes him special. But it turns out, in actuality, he was actually he suffered the ramifications of this weapon. Because initially the weapon was initially made in Cuba, but basically the U.S., in particular DARPA, ended up making their own more powerful version of the weapon, and that's what he's doing throughout the episode. He's killing everyone associated with him. It's even sad because like one of the people that was still alive like knocked Alina across her head to get it, because for him it was like he wanted to make sure I had to make sure everyone else is okay. So Alina bring him in. It's like, right, you bring me in. The fact is that everyone else could get hurt in the process. It's like, truth be told, if he hadn't done, I don't know. It's hard to say. Maybe him doing that saved Alina in the process because, well, she raced after him, but she was still in the radius. This thing does have a radius of effect. Now, because when he killed one of the scientists, she was in a hotel. It affected like the manager as well as people in nearby rooms. They are bad off, but wasn't fatal. So on top of all of that, so Alina does suffer the ramifications. But I'm curious, like, if it came down to it, like if he had actually gone with Alina, like her and Dembe probably would be dead because they would have all been in a vehicle and they wouldn't have been able to escape the proximity of it. But luckily, so maybe it worked out in the end, maybe not. I don't know. Like if they had left sooner, maybe they would have been all right, but who knows? Once that thing's kind of pinpointed on you, it's kind of hard to get away in time, especially when this thing like basically gives you vertigo and just makes you like, it aches you all over to your core. It aches your entire body at the same time, so you're not going to be, it's impossible to fully think straight. I mean, because even the guy at the beginning, what's his name, Stan, tried to like reverse, but it was just already too late. They already pinpointed on him, and he was already like locked, it was already locked in, and just even him trying to back away, just he couldn't do it fast enough, he couldn't move fast enough, just because his body couldn't, I think, react with everything that was happening. But the thing is, Benjamin makes it clear at the end, like, no, I'm not doing this to like make more money. It's like, this, because I know what this is, what this weapon's capable of, he's like, I feel it, like, he's got the shakes, he's like, I feel it in every ache of my body, and what it does, it blurs your vision, like, you are suffering in every facet of, suffering your body is, and so he doesn't want anyone to have to go through that because he recognizes what this weapon can do. Like, he's like, yeah, this weapon could be used to shut down a protest. Like, thousands of people just like that probably won't even remember how to spell their own name. That's not the example he used, but it was like, it could cause lasting damage. And the fact is, we're making a weapon like this. Not just one. This is the prototype. There could be thousands of weapons. Like, people are going to weaponize this, and this is a weapon that's too dangerous to be put out in people's hands. So he's killing everyone. People he considered friends and family. Like, he has to kill them because it's the only way he can make sure that no one else ever rebuilds this technology, and he's going to die with the knowledge too. It's like, it's not just killing them, he's planning on killing himself at the end of it all. But it's like, right, the fact of the matter is, they're going to have other people work on it. He's like, and he's like, I know, but at the very least, if I can give the world a year at a break from this, then it's worth it, and it's like, beyond that, it's up to you guys, and so, like, you guys to do something about it. So he kills himself. And Wrestler confronts the guy that him and Park had talked to earlier in the episode about, the guy who kept being like, oh, I cannot confirm or deny. Like, he was keeping hush-hush about it. It wasn't actually until his, like, receptionist or whatever was like, she's the one that gave them all the information about like who to track down and stuff like that, because they were already doing their own investigation. But it's like, right, you're trying to track him down because you're trying to make sure your scientists are okay so they can help you, but also so you can get the prototype back. But for Wrestler, it's like this weapon you won't even acknowledge exists, 6 people died to stop it. So like, but for him, it's like the thought of there are certain things, there are sacrifices that are necessary in the greater good of like, yeah, this is for the protection of this country, but it's like putting a weapon like this out there, like, but it's like this, everything we do is for national security. We protect this country, they have to do certain things that they're not proud of, but it's still like, it's the give and take because it's like, because the point he was trying to make was like everything there might be a bumpy road, there might be some cost at the beginning, but every discovery started that way, that there was some sacrifice or something. Obviously Wrestler doesn't go along with that, especially Wrestler knowing like, wow, without even skipping a beat, you've already got another team out there somewhere working on this, don't you? So like after all these sacrifices, they don't mean nothing to the point like you could tell like it bothers him on some level, but he's like, oh, we got a job to do, and that's just that's the rub of it all. And obviously it didn't sit well with Wrestler, especially because it's like not only are 6 people dead, my partner, like we don't even know the lasting effects this might have on her, because Alina had talked to Wrestler about it earlier in the episode, because like she told Peter, her husband, about the potential cancer, but then it's like he's like, yeah, you're keeping secrets from everyone. You told Peter about the cancer, not your job. You told Cooper about the job, not the cancer. It's like he's like, I might be the only person you're not keeping secrets from and keeping stuff from. And he's like, and she's like, what would make you think that? It's like, basically it was like, oh, there's not like, basically saying like, there's not enough room in the day to be deceiving me as well. And for her, it's just like everything she does is hold back the floodgates. And he's like, oh, you mean tears? And she's like, oh, men, really? Like, just kind of like, men, of course you just kind of allocate it just to that. But when Alina what ends up being the troubling news is the thing that was found in the sample, in men, it could be a sign of testicular cancer, but in Alina, it can be, it turns out it seemed like it might be cancer, but it's like, no, for Alina, it meant she was pregnant. And the moment I heard those words, I was like, was. And Peter's like, we're pregnant. And she's like, wait, you said was. It's like, yeah, that weapon had an effect on her baby, so there was another casualty in this. And obviously, that's going to be a pretty hard thing for them because Peter now knows everything. So it's probably like, she probably even filled him in about like, okay, so the reason why this got found out, I couldn't hand over the sample was because it was actually my partner's pee that I used to help him. So I don't know if she covered that basis of things. I'd assume she told, because she was like, yeah, I told him everything, because he didn't shake Wrestler's hand, and Wrestler's like, right, okay. Because even Wrestler was like, honestly, you wouldn't know about the cancer if it wasn't for me. So you're welcome. And Alina looked at him like, really? So, but for her, like, holding back the floodgates meant she needs to bury everything because she knows how she can be. We've seen it. Like, ever since Park got introduced in this series, we've seen how she can be, how she can fly off the handle. Like, she has a lot of anger issues. And I think for her, it's just like, it's all about control for her, because I think, and not just that facet, I think a lot of aspects of herself, like she wants control, because like she's worried, like if she can keep up the lies, keeping stuff buried, it's her way of controlling things, because she's like, I know how I can be when I'm out of control, and she's trying to mitigate that, but like Wrestler tells her just to let it out, and just like, she just lets everything out, just the sadness of like what she just discovered, what this also means for her marriage now that it's out in the open, because it's also like, right, if she hadn't taken this job again, who knows, they wouldn't have lost the baby, but still like Peter finding out about like, oh, he was happy about the baby thing, but now it's like, right, the baby's gone because of your job, because the job that you've been lying to me about, the job I asked you not to kind of go back to, and you've been lying to my face the entire time. No relationship should be based on lies, and that avenue of things kind of plays a big role throughout the episode. I mean, other than that, you had the whole Harold situation. Charlene, his wife, is like, you actually should have gone to the cops, because if they find out about this afterwards, they're going to look at you like, no, like, if you try to explain things after the fact, if you come clean first, then they might be willing to look a certain way. But for him, it's like, he's coming at a perspective of, I'm a cop. I know, like, if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's a duck. So he sees they're just going to see him as a guilty person no matter what. So that's why he never told the truth. He even invited detective up to be like, yep, he was open with him because he knew what to tell the truth about. Because I don't lie about the affair, because most likely you dug that up on your... Because it is interesting, he waited till now. He's had Harold's, like, car for a while, and he was like, yeah, lo and behold, so surprised to find out, like, hey, FBI agent. He's like, I even had to sign an NDA before I came to speak with you. So, whatever the case may be, he even has Charlene lie to him, because Charlene's like, I told you should have told the truth. He's like, maybe. And she's like, maybe. And he's like, so she's like, Charlene's just like, well, you put me in the middle of this now, Harold. So, you're always been an honest man, so do you want me to lie for you? And he says, I was actually wondering, I was like, what are you going to say? And I was thinking maybe he'll say no, but he's like, no, lie for me. And she did. She's like, oh, I won't lie for my husband. And she ultimately she still lied for him. I think that was just to solidify and sell it more. Like, I'm not going to lie. Truth be told, I'm not going to lie for my husband. And so she's telling the truth, like, I would not lie for him. So it is a complicated thing, and Harold, tries to be there for her later on, but she kind of like walks away from him, because it's like, yeah, you lied. Maybe Reddington's it had a negative influence on you, as like he always has had an influence on everyone on the team, but maybe that's just a Harold thing in general. But it's still the thing of, he did that because he wanted to figure out, because he's like, yeah, he wanted to get his blood tested to see if he was drugged or anything like that. Regardless if he turns out to be guilty or not, he still forced Charlene to lie. And it's just like, no, like, you put me in a very compromised position, because if it ever comes out that, like, you are guilty of this, I'm going to be an accessory. Like, she's going to be in contempt, like, arrested for, like, impeding an investigation. Like, he made her lie, made her a part of this by lying about it. So that's not going to be an easy thing to get over. Once again, lies, and because even then, it's like, because Wrestler had talked to, he's the one that at least told Peter something of the effect of, like, right, Alina's in the hospital as her husband. He had the right to know, but obviously it's like, right, he didn't know about the other job and everything. And then Harold's like, yeah, I told her about that. It's like, yeah, the truth eventually comes out. Easier to give advice than to take it, which that works both ways in the regards of, like, yeah, it's easy to give that advice, and it's then actually taking it in her case. Or even in his own case of, like, yeah, not to, we can all dish out advice, but sometimes the person who has the hardest time taking it is ourselves. Because we can say, like, oh, what seems so obvious to someone else, but when it comes to our own circumstances, we won't always apply it to ourselves. So that's the complicated rub of it all. So that's a whole snafu in itself. But another avenue to this episode, which I think is like a very interesting crux of it, is that Reddington's suffering ramifications for Dembe becoming an FBI agent. It's like, because I'm sure across the criminal world, word came out, like, probably only those in the know, because, I mean, it's not like Dembe's using a different name. As an FBI agent, he's using his own name. So people with connections being like, wait, Dembe Zuma? You mean, wait, Reddington's Dembe? And FBI? What? To the point, the guy he's trying to get, like, the airport stuff from, which was originally his, but the guy owns it now. He's like, right, well, I'm going to do some business that can benefit us both, but the guy doesn't want to work with him because of Dembe, which Dembe even said, like, when he was talking to Mirsay earlier, he was like, I didn't do this to hurt him. I think it's something he felt like he needed to do. I think after the Liz thing affected everyone in different ways, and I think this was his response to it, was becoming an FBI agent. I think kind of upholding what Liz stood for, because, she was like a sister to him. She was a friend, so it's like he wants to uphold that honor of who she was and what she represented. He wanted to feel that, like, the world was missing a good FBI agent, and it's like, right, I want to fill that void to some extent. Maybe not. Like, he would have been on the wrong side of things, of secrets and evil to some extent. He's been a bad guy for so long that I think he wanted to try and be a good guy, bring more good in the world than bad. Like, especially when the world was missing a bright light that is, Elizabeth Kane, so maybe not. We really haven't really dove into, like, his reasonings for that, but Reddington tried to make the whole thing happen. It's like, yeah, Dembe is Dembe's situation, but it's like, right, like, he's no longer in my circle, he has no connection to my connection, so you don't have to worry about it. It's like, well, we only know to be sure if we kill him, and he's like, well, for one, killing an FBI agent, so stupid. Two, it is also stupid to kill an a former associate of someone you're doing business with, so that's not smart. And he says something in a different language, and he's like, oh, maybe the idiom doesn't translate. Yes, I do think I'm calling you stupid. And the guy steps forward, Wicha does her thing, dual wields. And then I love that line I read him. Oh, cute as a button, isn't she? You see what she can do with the chicken. And I love the little things Weecha does where she'll smile. I'm like, oh, you're so devilish. I love it. But he was like, yeah, like she can bleed and pluck a chicken before it even knows it's dead. And what I thought was actually really like cool, badass, but almost really sweet moment. And he grabs her right hand. She puts her left hand like down by her side with the gun, but like her left hand still holding the gun. Reddington grabs it and kind of places it on his chest and kind of like, we're good. But I'm like, dude, I think like that moment, it's like a badass but kind of sweet moment. I'm like, oh, that's actually kind of adorable. Weird, adorable thing. Weird thing to refer to as adorable, but there was some cuteness to it. So the guys, because it's like, right, never let anything happen to Dembe. Good or bad, whatever is coming Dembe's way, it's going to be by my hand, so do not get involved. But one of Home Dude's guys follows Reddington. It's like, okay, time for you to meet the armadillo. And I love that Teddy's going through something right now, and so he's not there, and neither is Edna, so they leave up to Jeffrey, which is like, why is there no armadillo? He's like, because my dad doesn't believe, or like, I think he said like, no, it was either his dad or mom, he was like, said, I'm not ready for mammals. He's like, no, the shellfish, and I love that he's reading the cards on what he needs to do. He's like, oh, I'm missing this, and it's like, easy peasy lemon squeezy. But then he got word that Dembe used a contact of theirs. It's like, because Dembe tried to call someone up for an emergency, like getting Alina to the hospital, because it would take a long time for like the FBI to, like, they send like a unit there to kind of like an ambulance or whatever to get there to pick her up. But because that's why he tried to use an old code, but he's like, dude, shut up and just help me out. But Reddington finding out about that, it pissed him off. He even fired that dude because it's like, I can't have any, you're either in or you're out. He's like, it was for Alina to say, I hope Park is okay. But he's like, you're either in or you're out. You doing what you did is screwing with my business. No one's going to want to do business with me, considering the fact is that I have you at you. So if we're cutting ties, I can't be there to help you. Like, this is the way things have to be, you know? This is the arrangement it has to be. It's like, it's the only way I can do what I gotta do, especially considering, like, because Dembe would understand beforehand, because everything that he did was for the sake of Liz. Now that she's gone, I guess the argument could be, I'm amassing all this power for maybe alternative reasons, because even Dembe doesn't fully know what Reddington's up to anymore, nor like why he's doing what he does, because now that Liz is gone, it's like, is this all for Agnes? Like, what else are you aiming for? So he's in this situation now. And Jeffrey was able to get Home Dude to talk. He said, yeah, his soft spot was in between the toes. But it turns out they're planning on killing Dembe. Because it's like, right, Home Dude doesn't know when the hit's going down, just that it's going down. And it's like, oh, Jeffrey, they'd be so proud of you. Like, yeah. I love that. Just like Glenn's mom's kind of taken over took over operational purposes of kind of what Glenn did for Reddington. She's kind of filling that void to some extent. Like, I thought that was kind of a neat, like, hey, like, get some new blood in the mix to some extent. But other than that, now that word has come out, like, right, Dembe's going to get, because I even love Harold calling him, oh, I think we have to thank you for helping Alina. And he is like, helping Agent Park. He's like, apparently so. But yeah, like later on when he gets word about the like kill order on Dembe, which is like, you can't do that. Like, if you do this, it's going to like, my job is to protect you. I can't protect you if you're putting yourself in danger. And so Reddington's like, but it's like, he made it clear, like, right, they were supposed to keep up the end of the agreement. Like, he made it like, yeah, we're cutting ties with each other. Then like, we can't get, like, I can't help you. You can't help, like, jump in and out whenever you want to. But now it's like, because of him and Dembe's history, he decides to step in. And they ultimately killed the guy that was sitting there to kill him. And obviously the guy they got information from, they killed him. It's like, one guy dying, yeah, it could just seem like Dembe did it. But the other one, Home Dude's going to get suspicious. So what I need you to do for me, Dembe, is to kill that. It's like, well, you want me to kill him? I can't do that. It's like, you have to. Like, I kind of I did all this for you. You're going to have to do this for me. And so Dembe was kind of saying, like, why can't we just be? Why does it have to be in a situation that this is what our dynamic, like, it's an either or type of situation? Like, why can't it just be? And I love that Reddington was like, my old friend would already know the answer to that question. But he couldn't go through with it because I think Dembe played the card of like, right, he didn't open the box that Reddington had given him beforehand. And it's like the box should just walk away. And he played it under these circumstances. It's right. So he's not the one that killed Home Dude. It was Weecha that did it. So, and this is the toughest thing either one of them had to do. For Dembe, it's like, right, saying good. He has to, like, by accepting this box, he's walking away from Reddington, which Reddington was like, whether it's tomorrow, whatever, like, no debts or anything. 10 years from now, you walk away, and I'll even push for it. So now, like, everything between him and Dembe is going, like, Dembe's fully cut ties with Reddington now. Meaning, probably going forward, I'm wondering, will it still be Dembe that comes to visit him, or will it be, someone else, probably like Wrestler, or maybe Aram or Harold will probably fill that void. We'll see. I always assumed it would be Harold, but Dembe started being the in-between. We'll see if that continues going forward. We never actually got to see what was actually in the box. We just saw Dembe opening it, so he was kind of shocked to see what was inside, so we'll have to wait and see. But for Reddington, it's like, right, he's almost like, I wish I should have never come back. Because now everything kind of blew up in his face. I mean, granted, he already had to flex a little bit, too, by showing off the Skinner tattoo to one of his associates, because he's like, what's the dude's name? Sherwin. Because he's like, yeah, I can use some of your properties. He's like, it's like, oh, you're working with the Skinners. He's like, no, I am the Skinners. I'm top dog now. I'm the one running. I'm the captain. I'm running things now. So it's like, right, you do business with me, because the guy was like, yeah, people like us. Like, when people take a 2-year sabbatical, they don't come back the same. It's like Reddington came back. He doesn't have the power. He doesn't have the juice like he had before. But he found another means of that, because now becoming the head of the Skinners, becoming on top of an organization like that, gives him some of that juice back. Probably not all the power and position that he had at one point in time, going dark for 2 years. So there's some contacts like, oh, Reddington, you're back. I didn't know you would be. Yeah, I am. So, but it's like, was it all worth it? Because now it's like, Mirsha is there to, like, hold him, and he's just kind of, like, heartbroken about the whole Dembe thing, because, like, now it's, like, after everything they've been through, like, he thought this day would come eventually. Even with him and Dembe being on opposite sides of things, like, this solidifies it. This makes it concrete of the cutting of the ties between them to some extent, so. A lot of really, really interesting things. I'm curious in the long run to see where all of this ends up taking us. There is no new episode next week. There will be one on the 9th. Which makes sense, just because I'm sure a lot of stuff is going to be, like, taking a week or two off. But really, that's all I want to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.